Ren is by far the simplest class in all of MapleStory. Hold down hurricane skills you can also move around during, and pretty much everything else you have attack-wise is almost entirely passives that come out with your direct attacks. She's also got a bunny hop, amazing survivability, and in bosses, allows you to not focus much on dishing out as much damage as you optimally can, instead pointing your focus at the mechanics of the boss. If you wanted a really easy character anyone can pick up and play, or if you just wanted an extremely simple boss mule, Ren's right here and ready to greet you. With all that said, let's go through her skills. This one lets you toggle your bunny ears on or off, and Grounded Body is your Link skill, letting you survive bosses' one-shot attacks. At its max level of 3, it reduces any attacks that do percentages of your max health by 6% per hit. Won't help much in grinding, but at all levels of bossing, this is extremely nice to have. Your flash jump has an up jump tacked onto it, and can be combined with Lilting Petal. Is that a typo? No. Lilting is a real word meaning pleasant or cheerful, in reference to the sound of a voice. Huh. You can combine Lilting Petal with flash jump in any order you so please, and it'll work like a double flash jump, or you could use it by itself for a little bunny hop. Holding it down lets you float for a second, and you can hold any directions while floating to slightly move in those directions. Though if you do so, there's a 5-second cooldown before you can use any form of Lilting Petal again. All your Plum Blossom sword attacks 1st through 3rd job are just basic mobbing skills, and they get enhanced with Imugi Spirit passives, which have a chance to activate with said Plum Blossom sword attacks. They just do more damage to enemies in its attacking area, or around you if the enemies you were attacking are defeated. 2nd job also gives this attack speed booster buff, and this dash that counts as a teleport. Petal Flash has 2 uses, and the first sends you forward. Use it again, and you go backwards, the same distance. It can either be used by itself with its first skill key, this one that just ends with the words Petal Flash, or you can bind both parts of its attack separately, named Unsheath and Sheath, respectively. No cooldown, and it can be a handy bossing positioning tool. At 3rd job, Raining Blossoms is another passive attack that comes out when you land direct attacks that summon petals to attack enemies and deal way more damage to normal enemies. There's also all these Imugi skills. One is an upgrade to 2nd job Spirit Strike passive. This one is another passive that gives a chance to restore health and give a status resistance buff for 4 seconds. 6-second cooldown on the buff part, but not the healing part. And lastly, these two work with each other. You can bind Wish Unending onto your keyboard, and through it, you'll use all the skills titled Final Imugi Spirit Sword that you've learned in a predetermined combo string through this skill and nothing else. This is one of your main burst attacks, so make sure to have it bound to a button on your keybinds. 20-second cooldown for the entire combo string. You get another of these Final Imugi attacks at 4th job, as well as a Spirit Strike upgrade, a final attack type skill that gives a chance to deal more lines with your attacks, Maple Warrior and Heroes will, and an iframe that not only makes you invincible for 3 seconds, but also does a small attack around you, 70-second cooldown. Attack-wise, Plum Blossom Sword Storm is your main everything skill from here on out. You'll be using this throughout all your training, grinding around in maps, and throughout bossing, hacking up bosses. It's a hold down hurricane-like skill, and you can jump around in any which way with it. You can't use Lilting Petal during it though. Ren also gets a summon. Riotous Heart is a spinning blade that goes back and forth in an area for as many charges as it has left. 28 to be exact, but maybe that'll change in the future. It builds up 1 charge every 10 seconds, up to 2 charges, but you can only have 1 out at a time. Click this new skill, Unity, and you get to choose a different mode for this summon. Clicking left picks Riotous Heart, the one I just explained, and clicking right picks Hearts United. This one has 1 charge and a 30-second cooldown, and just sends a much bigger, much stronger, much slower ball moving forward, tearing through any enemies in its path, though it can only hit an enemy a total of 20 times. Hearts United is real good for bossing, while Riotous Heart is real good for grinding. Moving on to hyper skills, Sublimation resets the cooldown of your entire Wish Unending / Final Imugi combo string, and also gives you 3 extra charges of said combo string, letting you use it a total of 4 times after it's been reset. 2-minute cooldown. Plum Branch Snare is just your class bind, hits enemies in its area, binds them for 10 seconds, 2-minute cooldown. Years Uncounted is another final Imugi attack added onto your combo string, doing even more damage to all enemies it hits. In total, that's 3 attacks through this combo string so far. Most of Ren's hyper passives are pretty nice too. First, for the Spirit Strike ones, Reinforced is the best of these 3, just upping the damage of Imugi when that comes out by chance during your attacks. Guard Break is okay enough, but gets outclassed by other passive choices. And Spread just isn't all that good, since you don't need it to hit more enemies for any reason. Next, Storm is your main everything skill, so all of these are good. Definitely get Reinforce and Boss Rush. And you could consider Guard Break if your IED is on the lower side of things, or if you see yourself often forgetting to cast Wish Unending, but you could live without it. Lastly, Wish Unending. This is your Big Burst type skill, so Reinforce absolutely get, and Guard Break is a pretty good choice as yet another one of those famed IED passive choices. Critical Chance is just unnecessary, because even over on Challenger World, I can comfortably hit the crit rate cap without much investment or effort. Plus, crit rate on just one skill? Yeah, not very good. Summed up, absolutely get these. And for the last point, decide between these 2. I will note the Ren Discord's big infographic picture recommends Wish Unending's Guard Break over Storm, so do with that what you will. 5th job just keeps building around Ren's on-hit playstyle. Starting off, another final Imugi skill. Blade of the Unbound Heart is the 4th Imugi skill, popping a big circle at the end of your Wish Unending combo string, and summoning Spirit Blades that fly around and hit enemies. Soul Immeasurable makes mountains in the background of your map, alongside a giant snake roaming through said mountains. When you attack, Divine Strikes that look like lightning will also attack enemies. You get 90 strikes, which you can track by checking the skill icon. After all 90 strikes are used up, the Divine Serpent appears, dealing a ton more damage. 20-second duration, 2-minute cooldown. 1000 Blossom Flurry covers the map in snow. Isn't that pretty? When you attack enemies while it's out, it does extra attacks on enemies, called Blossom Strikes. If you land 30, 70, or 125 Blossom Strikes on enemies, again as indicated by the skill icon in your buffs, a new attack occurs, called Plum Blossoms, dealing even more damage to enemies with petals. 30-second duration, 2-minute cooldown. Lastly, for bunny-specific 5th skills, Dancing Annihilation is your Boss Burst Hurricane. You hold it down for up to 5 seconds, and it hits a ton of times. You also take half reduced damage from most attacks during it, and are even immune to knockback and status debuffs. Additionally, you can hold down your entire final Imugi combo string while also holding Dancing Annihilation, including extra stored ones if you popped Sublimation beforehand. And of course, you get the same exact type of movement as Storm, meaning you can move around, flash jump, and up jump during its animation. 2-minute cooldown. Shared Anima skills. Grandest Goddess's Blessing for Anima classes gives a damage boost, and for Ren in specific, it also gives bonus damage to skills with Final Plum Blossom Sword, Final Imugi Spirit, and Rising Azure Dragon in their name. So Flurry, Dancing Annihilation, and your entire Imugi combo string, plus your Origin at 6th job. 40-second duration, 2-minute cooldown. Lotus Flower is very simply an extra life. Place down the flower, and if you die within the next half hour of placing it down, you'll instead revive inside of it and be invincible for a few seconds. If you move maps, the flower still goes away, and instead rests around a 7-minute cooldown. The flower lasts for about roughly 30 minutes, and the cooldown when you revive is about 25 to 30 minutes at all levels. Lastly, Shared Warrior skills. Weapon Aura builds up 1 charge every 2 minutes, and when you cast it, you'll send out waves of damage every 5 seconds when you attack, for as long as the duration of the skill persists. At max level, this goes up to 94 seconds currently, but I believe a future update changes this to match the charge time of 2 minutes. Impenetrable Skin gives you super stance, stat resistance, and increases your damage every time you get hit, going from stacking 3 times at level 1 to 6 times at max level. 2-minute cooldown. Ren's 6th job is one of the least exciting of any class, sadly. So first off, yeah, all her 5th job skill boosts just bump her damage. But second, yeah, all her Hexa masteries too. They're just damage boosts and don't add anything new. Regardless, Storm now looks like this. Your Amugi passives now look like this. Your entire final Amugi combo string now looks like this. And Riotous Heart / Hearts United now look like this. Also, Raining Blossoms gets a boost too. So ending off skills entirely, Ren's origin skill, Rising Azure Dragon, Divided Heavens, very simply binds the boss, does a bunch of damage, makes you invincible for its whole duration, and just looks really cool. 6-minute cooldown, just like all other origins. Ren's incredibly simple, throughout everything you could do with a character. She still has some nuances that some people might have missed though, so let's make her easy. You don't really need many buttons to play Ren. The only skills you really need, bound, are Storm, Wish Unending, your origin skill, Lilting Petal, Dancing Annihilation, Riotous Heart, and your Bind and Iframe. That's 8 buttons total. Everything else is optional. One addition to this keyboard layout comes in the form of anywhere from 1 to 3 buttons through Petal Flash. The skill itself swaps between unsheathed and sheathed mode, where the latter sends you backwards. If you don't like that, you could instead bind the individual sheathing buttons, so no matter how much you press one when it's not available, nothing happens, which could potentially save your life. So depending on your preference, that's a total of 9 to 10 buttons I'd argue are required to play Ren. One tidbit of technique for you. You know how you can't use Storm during Lilting Petal's hop? Well, since you can use and even start using Storm while in the air, you can let go of Storm practically for just the moment you click Lilting, and go right back to holding Storm for a nearly seamless double flash jump while still attacking. For grinding, swap on Riotous Heart, place it in between where it'll hit multiple platforms, if possible. Go to another area of the map and place down Urda Fountain if you have it, and then use Storm, cleaning up the remaining areas, which you can usually reach comfortably without much effort. Yeah, that is all you have to do. Cycling around Blossom Flurry or Soul Immeasurable for more coverage is largely not necessary either, since you'll be clearing every spawn wave anyways. You can, if you wanted to spice up your grinding a little more and get a little more comfortable coverage temporarily, or to add snow to your map for fun. But yeah, it's not needed by any means. At 6th job, Ren's grinding gets even easier, thanks to Soul Janus closing what little gaps that may remain. Both Dawn and Dusk are good, honestly. I see Ren's use both all the time, and they seemingly have no map clear issues from what I can tell. For bossing, you can get away with holding down Storm, and largely not focus on dealing damage. Instead, this class lets you focus more on what the boss is doing. Obviously, tossing out a full final Amugi combo string and a Hearts United when you can will help do DPS in the long run, but since you've got nearly full movement while holding your Hurricane down, just focus on what the boss's attacks look like, how they play out, getting away from them, etc. You'll always want to be toggled onto Hearts United for bossing, since that does oodles more damage over Riotous Heart. Also, there's no need to position yourself a certain distance away from the boss to get as many hits off from Hearts United as possible either. Since it can only hit a total of 20 times, which happens extremely quickly, this can be achieved even on bosses with much smaller hitboxes, just so long as you stand in front of them. Here's how to optimize using your final Amugi combo string. Do one full combo string, then pop Sublimation, either on its own or through a sequence which I'll get into shortly, then hold it down for 4 more cycles. Using it before the rest of your burst gives you 1 extra Amugi string, totaling up to 5 instead of the usual 4. Even without any of your other burst boosts, that's still a big damage bump. For utility, Petal Flash is great as not only a teleport, but also as horizontal movement along the ground. If you can get comfortable enough with knowing which Petal Flash is active, you can even use it to swap back and forth between a boss's sides to avoid anything they may toss out in front of them. Survivability wise, Unbowed Blade for a 3-second iframe, but also don't forget to not freak out too much if the boss attacks you while bursting. Dancing Annihilation gives a bunch of defenses too. One you don't even have to remember because it'll just passively keep saving you is your Link skill, Grounded Body. One-shots are meaningless to this bunny girl. Since this update, called Every Little Thing Every Precious Thing, Lotus Flower has insanely good use as an extra life. Not just because that's a free life in bosses, but also because bigger bosses reset all your cooldowns in the new waiting rooms. No need to fret over if you want to use Lotus Flower once every half hour or not. Keep that in mind. Sequences for Ren don't have a lot going on. One for buffs if you just wanted to get off all your decent skills and weapon booster off in a reasonable time frame, and then one for your 2-minute burst. For your 2-minute burst sequence, just shove everything except your decent skills into there. Grandest Goddess, Flurry, Soul Immeasurable, Impen Skin, Weapon Aura if that's not on a pet buff for you yet, Sublimation, and end it off with AB Link and Nas Ring, preferably Ring of Restraint 4 when you get one, which is the best option for Ren. Yeah, even though she's very heavily a Hurricane class, Ren's burst is big enough to justify ROR being more useful than a continuous ring. Speaking of Ren burst, cooldown hats are something you'll eventually want to get to, mainly because any type of cooldown reduction will allow you to get more final Imugi combos off sooner. This one is mainly aimed at off-burst damage, but hey, every little bit counts. Ideally, you'd want to at least go for a -2 second hat, or -4 with a stat line if you can get it. More final Imugi spam is always good. While it also seems sensible enough that you'd want a cooldown hat for Hearts United, it's actually not much of a factor towards your overall damage, but theoretically it's still an increase. Link skills got changed this update with Ren's release, but it's still largely the same as it always has been. One notable change is for survivability purposes. Resistance Link now lasts 12 seconds instead of 8. But for grinding, your typical layout will still roughly look like this, with Evan, Aran, Mercedes, and Lara links always being priority staples now and forever for more XP and normal monster damage sources. And for bossing, anything boosting your damage through the roof. Terms and conditions is a must, same with Solus and Key Cultivation from Arc and Mojuan respectively, but the rest, it depends on what you have and or wanted to use, depending on your playstyle. Some layout like this, but play around with what you feel is most comfortable for you. Inner ability is bafflingly straightforward. Grinding, drop, meso, normal monster damage. Bossing, boss damage first line, abnormal status damage, and flat attack for the second and third lines. Cooldown skip doesn't reset any of Ren's important skills, buff duration would purely be for AB Link and nothing more. Attack speed +1 does nothing for a Hurricane class like Ren, and passives +1 I thought would be a fine enough settle, and maybe it still is, but the Ren Discord gives no solid comparisons between that and boss first line, so I assume just purely boss damage outscales all these boosted 4th job skills. Sorry for that ramble. Yeah, Ren's inner ability has zero fuss to it. Trinodes go a little something like this. Get everything you can boost, except your previous job at Plum Blossom's sword abilities. So you'll want any mix of Storm, Raining Blossoms, Riotous Heart, and everything with a Mugi in the name, since that'll either be your combo string or most of your passive attacks. All of these get damage boosts and new animations at 6th job, with I guess the one exception being Unbowed Blade, since that's just your iframe that does a very teensy amount of damage in the first place, and is attached onto the Serpent's Fang Trinode. How you order these on your Trinodes doesn't matter, just so long as you boost each skill twice. Of course Ren's burst is simple. All you have to do is this. Make sure you have Hearts United selected for your Spinny Blade skill, do one final Imugi combo string, click your full burst sequence, and then hold Dancing Annihilation and final Imugi down together for 4 entire combo strings. Once both Dancing and Imugi's attacks stop, swap back to holding down Storm, and toss in final Imugi once that comes off cooldown every 20 seconds or so. Same with Hearts United when it's off cooldown. That's it, that's all of Ren's burst. Her off burst is just that entire last part. Hold Storm, press Imugi sometimes, and also a Hearts United when that comes off cooldown. When you reach 6th job, the burst is also the exact same, but instead of pressing down Storm right as dancing ends, you'll instead want to press your Origin skill, and after that plays out, then you go back to holding Storm. So you press 2 buttons and hold 2 buttons. Easy, easy. I personally find Ren to be an amazing class, solely because her playstyle is a 180 of what most would come to expect from a class in MapleStory. You get to hold Storm most of the time and focus on dodging boss mechanics. Some may find it boring, but as someone that leans way more towards technical classes with a lot of moving parts, I still find Ren to be ridiculously fun, even if also ridiculously easy too. Thanks to the Ren Discord for their little infographic getting my Ren off the ground when I went into this class almost entirely blind in Challenger World. Thanks to you for watching. And if this video helped out in any way, with either information or entertainment, I'd love to know. Even if I missed something about Ren, like, oopsie, I forgot Ascent skills are coming in a month or two, tell me all about it. Until next time, that's all.